Thank you. Try not to break the thing. Thank you for that very generous introduction. Thank you for coming out on a foggy night when we were uncertain about the weather. I also want to thank Representative David Gomberg for joining us. He's going to be speaking in just a little bit. I understand I'm supposed to be speaking louder. Is this better? Louder? All right. So it is a pleasure and a joy and an honor to teach with Michelle and the other Chemeketa Community College instructional staff. It is a dream come true teaching at community college, working with adults, working their way through perhaps their first time at bat. For many, it's their second or third time at bat. It is a true joy to be there. And quite frankly, there is no better community college environment than Salem, Oregon. I also want to thank the folks that made tonight happen. Sometimes our team doesn't always get the recognition that they deserve, usually because I forget to say it. But all of you who helped tonight be a possibility, please raise your paw because we're happy wolves. Raise your paw and just say thank you to them. As we start talking about the campaign, and that's my job tonight, to try to talk about the campaign, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. It really does matter that you're here. Had you not made so many calls, walked so many miles, weathered the storms of the last campaign beside me, we would not be here celebrating the opportunities of a re-election bid. In fact, most people didn't really believe we were able last time to win. And quite frankly, had I been on my own without you, I don't think I would have. We won that campaign. We won that campaign in an unusual, at times unorthodox approach, but we did it together. Planning tonight to talk about the next phase has been a complicated blessing. The truth is, I struggled for some time, trying to figure out what I was going to say in the time we had together. After all, what should a candidate say when they're running for re-election? What are we supposed to say to prepare the family and friends, the community that made it possible to get ready for one more time, for the rigors and the tempests that await? What are you supposed to say to folks getting ready to go into a political battle? Ultimately, what are the desired ends of a campaign like that anyway? Campaigns today are costly, frustrating, sometimes they're ugly. What on earth could be important enough for me to ask you to reinvest your talent, your time, and your treasure? And as I thought about it, an answer came forth. Oregon is worth it. Oregon matters. The Oregon I grew up in, the Oregon we know possible, is worth the price. It is worth fighting for, regardless of how hard the campaigns become. As I began preparing for what to say tonight, I began reflecting upon quality of life. And I quickly turned to the life and legacy of Tom McCall. You know, he once said, well, he said a lot of things, but one of the things he said was that quality of life is the sum total of the fairness of our tax structure, the caliber of our homes, the cleanliness of our air and our water, and the provision of affirmative assistance for those who cannot assist themselves. He said that true quality is absent if we allow social suffering to abide in an otherwise pristine environment. 50 years after his election as governor, McCall remains an inspiration for his passion for Oregon and his dedication to community. In a life that included military service during World War II, broadcasting, and public office, McCall learned how to connect to people and how to connect people to place. He forged new trails and established an enduring environmental ethic. In so doing, he forever wove his vision of community into the tapestry of the Oregon story. Tom McCall was a great man of imagination who passionately fought for his convictions, even despite adversity and when disappointed. He is one of the few politicians in Oregon's history that loved Oregon enough that he actually loved Oregon more than life itself. He ignored his cancer to wage a final crusade defending Oregon's land use system so that farms and forests would remain unspoiled by sprawl. He convinced all Oregonians of our responsibilities as stewards of a new Eden. I believe his campaign then matters now. For Oregon would not be Oregon, at least the Oregon we remember, the Oregon we love, had he abandoned the fight or lost his passion. Sometime before him, Teddy Roosevelt once said that the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. The good fight matters. It always has, and Oregon is worth the fight. And for more than 24 months, you in this room have been in the arena with me, step by step, the entire time. We dared to battle for the opportunity to make a lasting, meaningful contribution. Together, we launched a grassroots campaign, advanced a message of community rather than fear, and succeeded in capturing a seat long held by the other party, despite their, at times, brutal campaigns. Together, we built a solid record in the legislature. We didn't do everything, but we played a part in some things, and we can be proud of the progress we've made. We improved the lives and livelihood of students, of women, of children, of veterans, working families, small businesses, and for those too long denied access to justice. Together, we made a difference, and tonight I'm asking you that together we continue to make a difference. For tonight, despite all we have to celebrate as a community, we know that there is much more that must be done if we dare to claim what McCall would say was a true quality of life. Because we know some things about 2016. We know our economic recovery is constrained by circumstance. Despite adding millions of jobs back since the Great Recession, we know job security is often ephemeral. We know that statistics tell us that 1 of 5 children live in hunger tonight. We know that underemployment and unemployment is increasing within the middle class. And we know that poverty is a growing reality. We know that the top 1% of Americans are living healthier, longer, more secure lives than the remaining 99%. We know that some corporations, not all, but some, are now able to act in flagrant disregard of the public interest without any apparent consequence. What eats at us is that we know the American dream that built this nation is fading, replaced by the American irony, because equity and fairness are fleeting. And we here tonight, we know we can be better than we are. So tonight, as we gather here to celebrate the accomplishments of yesterday, we are also called to look at the challenges of today and tomorrow. Our challenges are significant. The people of Oregon right now are struggling to navigate the currents of globalism and its consequences. Here in Oregon, when so many in our community struggle, when our neighbors struggle, we struggle. We're in this together, or at least we should be. And sometimes the struggle, the adversities of life actually force us to think about the what and the why. Like many, I often turn to Scripture to try to make sense of our circumstances and our charge. I recall a similar moment, a time where a community identified a critical need, rallied around a leader with passion and a plan, and a servant who changed the heart of a nation. For the next few moments, I ask us to reflect upon the story of Nehemiah. He was a man who lived a comfortable life in exile. He was a servant to a Persian king. Quite frankly, he could have done nothing, and no one would have noticed when he found out of the devastation that had occurred in Jerusalem. And yet this humble servant, when he understood and when he learned that the wall had fallen, was moved to action by the courage of his convictions. He used his position to beg the king for release and the king's assistance to return home and rebuild the historic wall surrounding Jerusalem. Now, Nehemiah had no special gifts. He wasn't an engineer. He had no training. He was an ordinary man, a servant, who led a volunteer army and rebuilt the gates and the wall in just 52 days because they knew it was important. That wall was personal. It was a promise of security, a covenant kept. The wall stood as a symbol of national pride and resilience. Its reconstruction made a bold symbolic statement of a reawakening of a civic spirit and reflected a profound conviction of conscience. I believe Nehemiah's story holds relevance today. He was a leader who was a servant. He motivated his people by working beside them in the reconstruction of the wall, often in the face of criticism, always in close proximity to his enemies. It was not easy for Nehemiah and those that followed him, but they knew what they had to do. Nehemiah's story illustrates a time of challenge and I believe a time of success. 2016 is our time. We fought to get here. We fought for the opportunities to face the challenges of this time. And to succeed, our task is to reconstitute, reconstruct the promise of Oregon, brick by brick by brick. We must commit ourselves to rebuilding Oregon upon firm bedrock, far removed from the soft sands and erosion of partisan strife. We must renew Oregon using sustainable materials, policies, and programs that are built upon principle, so that Oregon is prepared for the tests of tragedy and triumph that will come. It starts here. It starts tonight. It starts with us. First, we must value work more than wealth. We must reawaken and reward the work ethic at all levels of our community. In today's world, it's hard sometimes to remember that work is honorable. Regardless of your salary or title, when you earn it through work, it allows us to make our way and to build our dreams. The ability, the freedom to build your own version of the American dream is essential. To that end, we must find a way to better differentiate between earned income and amassed privilege. In simplest terms, we must become a community of workers and dream builders. Second, we must rebuild our education system. We have lost our focus. It is nonsense that we spend so little time in the classroom on civics education and learning how to coexist. Public schools matter. They matter in ways we don't always understand. Democracy cannot endure absent a community oasis for learning and living in peace. We must become a community of civic-minded learners. Third, we must build things again, big things and small things. We have to recognize that it is a time for innovation and invention. Our priorities for public investments must be geared around building a future, not waiting for somebody else to do it for us. We must renew the spark of discovery and exploration made possible through innovation. Once upon a time, America reached for the stars. It's time to get off the couch and reach for the stars again. We must become a community of inventors and innovators. Fourth, we must accept a simple fact. God gave us a planet to steward, not to destroy. Good environmental policy can mean good business opportunities if we work together in common cause. A sustainable environment reaps economic benefits. Those that suggest sound environmental policy is bad for business are wrong. Very wrong. We must become a community of good stewards. And fifth, We must make politics personal again. Now, I'm not talking about the Adams Mannix kind of personal attacks lobbed at the lives of candidates or the goofy stuff you see on TV. I'm talking about personal in terms of outcomes. It means passionately fighting for Oregon and Oregon's people. We must become a community of passionate activists, Oregonians who seek out opportunities to serve, who celebrate, not fear, but celebrate the challenges of diversity, who exemplify what Lincoln once called the better angels of our nature. We must fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That's why I'm a Harry Truman Democrat. And I'll be honest, the opposition doesn't understand what that means. More than once, the other side has openly questioned what I believe in, what I'm thinking, what I'm trying to do. So tonight, I want to clarify the point. Harry put it this way: Democrats work to help people who need help. The other party, well, they work for people who do not need help. That's all there is to it. I believe government is a relationship between people in common cause, a reflection of the governed. Government exists to facilitate fairness, protect our liberties, to secure our environment, to sustain opportunity, and here's the big one, to provide all people with the opportunity for changing their circumstances when and where they're willing to work for it. The other party, at least the other party as it is manifested now, doesn't understand that anymore. And I believe, in fact, I know, I need you in this fight. We have been told that flipping House 20, flipping this district, is the top priority for the House GOP. We've also been told that they are trying to find close to $1 million to spend against us. They want the seat back. The good news is, if they were going to spend $1 million against me, they'd probably win pretty easily. But they're going to have to defeat us. And together, we can hold the seat, if you want it, if we're willing to work for it. We cannot worry about what the other side will say. We know from experience that the other side sometimes tries to confuse and confound us. They will try to divide us against ourselves, and at times they will try to divide us against our own self-interest. At the end of the day, we can't worry about that because ideological battles sound good on paper, but they really don't matter when it goes to the door. For our part, this campaign will be about 3 things. Courage. Oregonians want a leader that can facilitate a plan comprised of different ideas, put that plan into action, and work for progress. We have a record to run on because in 2014 and 2015, we did what we said. And with your help, we can continue to do that. I happen to believe when it comes to courage, there is a profound difference between the illusion of courage enabled through modern media and the quiet courage, standing up for what you believe in, trying to do the best you can, day after day after day. Community. Community matters because people matter. All people matter. In uniform or out, I will continue to defend what we hold dear. We must keep faith with our responsibilities to this place and our people. We are indebted to those who passed this on to us, and we are morally bound to pass this place on to the next generation in better shape than we received it. Service. The fact is, what we do in quiet or upon the stage matters. Our service to each other matters. However you choose to serve, wherever, whatever organization it may be, actually doesn't matter. But that you find a place to serve, that you find a place to invest, that you make your neighborhood, your corner of the neighborhood better is in fact the point. We are stronger when people recognize that this community is something that must be sustained not just through community and collective effort, but through individual investment. I want to close with something familiar to us all. You've probably heard much of this before, but I want to take tonight and consider the prescience of what was said by Tom McCall not that long ago. He said, "I'm just wondering, where is the glow of yesteryear? I'm wondering where the heroes went." Heroes are not giant statues framed against a red sky. They are people that say, this is my community and it is my responsibility to make it better. But here's the part you may not have heard. He said, interweave all these communities, and you really have an America that is back on its feet, a comfortable nation to live in again. I think we're going to have to reassess what constitutes a hero. As I look out upon this crowd today, I see a community of heroes. On matters large and small, in public and in private, you stand up and step forward and lend a hand when many others stand aside. 24 months ago, you joined our quest. You joined a campaign that wasn't supposed to win, and you made it possible. And once we won, you helped us while we were in the legislature to make sure that our team had your ideas, had your passion. We never stopped forums. We never stopped making sure that the seat is the people's seat. Together, we have weathered hardships and celebrated in the glory of earned opportunities for service. As a family, as a team, as a community. If you want the Oregon I know is possible, the kind of Oregon that we grew up in, the kind of Oregon that would make McCall proud, I need you now more than ever. Let us make 2016 the year of heroic activism. Together we can reawaken a civic renaissance and demonstrate the power of community in pursuit of a truly great society. An America, an Oregon, a Mid-Willamette Valley, where the rights of the many outweigh the attempted tyranny of the few. Together we can restore the promise of Oregon, brick by brick, decision by decision. We can rebuild our cities and our counties. We can rebuild our infrastructure. And we can rebuild our vision of a sustainable Oregon. For in the end, together we stand, together we serve, together we can and together we will change the heart of the world, but only together. Thank you.